This is the Grownlearn podcast with your host, Zorina. Today, we're going to be speaking about transforming the profitability of your company, the sales of your company, with a very unconventional method, or it's conventional, but most people don't think about it when they think about business growth. We're going to be talking about pricing with not least but the price whisperer. I'm welcoming Per Sjofors, the price whisperer. Hi, Per.
Hey, Zorina, thank you very much for that very on-point introduction.
Per, your story is impressive. You've been the CEO of a few companies. You're running two of your own companies now, and you're known as the price whisperer, not by chance. It's because you've managed to turn around the profitability of companies by with your own developed process on pricing. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us first a bit about your story? How did you become the price whisperer?
Yeah, the story is this, that I ran a couple of companies in Europe, and before I moved here to the US, and I came here to establish and run a division of a fairly large public company, and then I had a few other CEO jobs after that. And in all of these instances, we did experiments with pricing, only because I was interested in it. And some of those experiments were very successful, meaning that next quarter revenues were up like 25%. Others were complete duds. And what I had learned in business school about price, about pricing was so theoretical and academic that it didn't help us to understand why some of those experiments worked, right? And so eventually I decided I was too old and too opinionated to be a hired gun. So I set up my own shop and decided to develop a process that I would have needed in these various companies to make sure that our pricing experiments all worked. And that is a process that we're still using, and I have about 750 or so customers, maybe 5,000 different products or services, and it's always very, very successful. So and the process consists of doing willingness to pay research into a marketplace with a digital questionnaire, and then segment that. So we also developed our own AI software to do the analytics and so forth. And then I have real business people that take data and make it into actionable information. So it always works, and we work globally. So
okay, that's already impressive. And so tell us a bit about the process, apart from developing this questionnaire. What is involved in developing the pricing strategy?
Yeah, the many companies see pricing as would it live in a vacuum, and they go out and they say, oh, we're going to change our pricing. Well, they can do that, and it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. Just like my experience, prior to me getting into this, but the fact is that companies needs to know, because everything you do in a company affects how you can price. You may find through our process that there are different customer categories that would support higher, more profitable prices than the customer category the company currently sell to. They may find through the process that there are different marketing channels and marketing messages and marketing sort of positioning statements that drives a higher willingness to pay, and therefore support higher prices than others. I mean, for example, we just completed a project for a small startup, and what we found is that this company has a fairly nondescript or had as a fairly nondescript brand name, right? And we found that in their market, by adding a brand name that described what the company does, that will support about 20% higher prices, right?
Wow. And
Yeah.
what is the process in which you find this out?
Well, like I said, we have a digital questionnaire that we go out with and poll a company's marketplace, and that includes both potential customers, actual customers, and mostly people who never heard of the company, but that could become customers should they be aware of it, right? And we have a series in that questionnaire. There's a lot of questions about how people equate price and value, and those are the questions that eventually allows us to predict sales volume and revenue at different prices and for different customer segments, for different marketing channels, and so forth. And some companies, they I have a conversation with a company actually in about a couple of hours that painted themselves into a corner, right? They go to market with a message saying that we are cheap, right? And they give away a lot of things to their particular audience. So because they go to market with a low price message, despite all the value they give to their clients, they attract price sensitive customers. So they have a problem in that if they tone down the sort of "we are cheap" message, their lead flow stops, right?
Oh, it's
and
much more difficult. Yeah, this is what I.
And if they increase prices, their sales volume dies, right? Because they are focusing on just getting those price sensitive customers. So they painted themselves in a corner, and there's no way out. So my conversation with this particular company is they need to start a different brand.
Oh, wow.
Sell the same thing, sell the same thing, but with different messages, and eventually outcompete itself. Because any company is eventually going to find competition, right? And the best competition is yourself.
Because rebranding is actually much more expensive than launching a new brand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And rebranding takes years,
Yeah.
What this company sells is not a physical product. It's relatively easy to create a different brand with different positioning and so forth. Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned that this was a startup, but you're also working with Fortune 500 companies.
Yes.
What is the typical customer? Is there a typical customer at all that seeks your services?
There's a typical customer, and typical customers are in the 10-15 million up to maybe $250 million. That's sort of where most of our clients lives. And we also know that we always have to deal with the CEO, because what we do is so strategic that if the CEO is not part of the decision process to engage us, it doesn't happen,
But what are some mistakes apart from what you currently mentioned this company had done? What are other mistakes pricing managers make?
Well, the biggest mistake is not to put sufficient resource on pricing, and if you look at it, there is from any company, first of all, profits drive every company, right? If you don't have profits, eventually you don't have a company, because you're going to run out of investor money or your own money, or you have to be profitable, right? And the more profit you have, the more resource you have for market development, for product development, or define new services and so forth. Even hiring the best people that are going to be more expensive, right? And if you look at any company has a resulting profit that comes from only three variables. It is the total cost of the operation, it is the total sales volume of whatever the company is selling, and it's the price of what you sell. And out of these three, pricing has the highest leverage on profits. And if you look at the average company, and of course, no company is average, right? But if you look at the average company, if you can, I have something that I call the 1% challenge. And if you consider these three variables, if a company can increase its sales volume with 1%, profitability goes up with for the average company with 3.5%. If the company can reduce cost with 1%, profitability goes up with 5.5%. But if a company can increase the price with 1%, or decrease its discounting with 1%, which is of course the same thing, profitability goes up with 11.3%.
Impressive.
And the challenge, the 1% challenge, have you ever failed to change something 1%? That's nothing, right?
So would you advise then everybody to raise their prices by 1%?
Well, in fact, yeah, I do. I mean, because what you want to do, every company, and this is, you asked me about mistakes, and I talk to CEOs many times. They say, we haven't dared to raise prices for 7 years, and now we're not profitable anymore, so we must raise prices. And even if we go up just 1%, we're going to lose all our clients. No, they're not. Because they have competition, right? And the cost among competition has also been rising, right? Mm-hmm. So it's what should we call it? But people, some companies or many companies are so afraid of raising prices. What you should do is that every year you should raise the price a few percent, right? Doesn't make a big difference the first year, but when you 3 years into this, 4 years into this compounds, right? And small price changes like that, 3%, 2%, 4%, nobody notice, right? But it makes a difference for the company.
Yeah. So talking about the annual price increases, what do you think of adjusting pricing for inflation?
Yeah, I mean,
are you consulting some companies on the subject?
Well, not necessarily inflation. That's part of it, but it's again, those companies that come to us and want help to with pricing do so because they want to take their company to the next level. Mm-hmm. They realize that they need the resources to grow the company in ways they have not been able to grow it in the past. And the easiest way of doing it is increase prices, right? Or price right, I should say. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean to increase prices. Sometimes you're going to get, if you're overpriced, a lower price will actually give you higher revenue and higher profits, right? So it's and we find, and sometimes it's about taking an informed decision of trading off sales volume versus revenue and profit. Let me give you another example. A couple of months ago, I got a note from a prior client. They're consumer facing company, and the message was basically a screenshot from the company's accounting system, right? And what I can see was that their sales volume was down with something like 8% or so, based on our recommendations. Their profitability was up with 49%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the message from the CEO of the company was very simple. It says, less work, more money, many thanks.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, you know.
Do you share some of your strategies in your book? I know you're a best-selling author.
Yeah. Oh yes. This book here is it's available on Amazon and other places as well.
It's called The Price Whisperer for anybody who's listening on audio.
Yeah, it's called The Price Whisperer, but it's actually the subtitle is really key, because the subtitle is A Holistic Approach to Pricing Power. And that is you asked me about mistakes, and one of the key mistakes that people do is not to realize that pricing doesn't live in a vacuum. And because of that, companies who do take that holistic approach to pricing, because everything you do in the company affects how you can price, will see those results that I just mentioned a couple of examples of. And what the book is about is to take that holistic approach, not to see pricing as a separate activity outside what you do in your company, but part of everything you do in the company.
And you mentioned you developed your own AI system that helps you in the. What does it do? Can you give us an insight?
So what we do is, like I said, we do these willingness to pay research from where we can assess what a company's marketplace are truly willing to pay for a product or a service. So that creates oodles of numbers, right? And what the software does is to take all these numbers into create a prediction of sales volume and revenue at different prices.
Mm-hmm.
So it really does some statistical analysis, and the AI portion is specific because based on the data, that the analytics changes based on the data itself. So there's a loop there in which the various rules that are used in the software are changing by the data itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
does it take into account competitive pricing?
Yes, in a way, because what we often do is making our prediction of sales volume and revenue for our clients, but also for those in the marketplace who want to buy competing products or services, right? And there's also a particular way of analyzing the data called Crossprice Elasticity. And in Crossprice Elasticity, it's possible to see how buying behavior changes based on the various competitors' pricing, right? So we can see that if your competitor increased their price with 20%, the business will go here. Or if they decrease the price with 20%, they will gain this much, or you will lose this much, or whatever.
So I used to do this about 15 years ago. I used to work in marketing and sales controlling, financial controlling. So we used to do such models.
Yeah. And now it's done. You know, we click the button and we get the answers in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So and that's one of the reasons why we can work even with small companies. You know, if you and we're affordable for small companies as well because of that. You know, we don't have to have a stab of number crunchers, you know, that look at this. The software take care of all of that.
Mm-hmm. What is the starting point of your pricing, or is that something that you don't disclose publicly?
No, we typically don't. But the first of all, we'd like to work with our client for a year. And what this means is that we do one of these projects. It takes typically about 6 weeks, and then as our clients are implementing the recommendations, there's always going to be questions. So during that year, as questions comes up, we go back into the data. We do further analysis to find answers that we didn't know would be questions that come up, and sometimes we do little micro projects just to find the answer to a particular question that comes up during that year. And then at the end of the year, we redo the original project and we do a gap analysis. By doing that, the company get to know what's changed during the year. And obviously they are going to change. And because our client is changing, the everything in the marketplace is also changing. In their marketplace is changing because everybody influenced the marketplace. So, and
for anybody who would like to get a taste of the type of service you're providing, and you know what they can tweak in their business, you mentioned you had a mastermind class on pricing.
Yes, I have. I have a master class in pricing. It's on our website. It's 19 video episodes that are roughly between 12 and I think some are up to 18 minutes, that walks through all the elements of that holistic approach to pricing, and obviously there's a lot of follow-up questions and so forth that people really need to answer. If they can answer all of those questions, they're on the path to best practice pricing. And for your listeners, I can provide you with a discount code, so they can get a 20% discount on the already pretty low price. It's $95.
I will put the discount code below in the description for anybody who's interested in joining this masterclass.
Yeah, it's it's all about elevating pricing in a company, and not, like I said, not treat it as separate from the rest of what the organization does.
Per, if there's any one advice that you could choose, what would your best advice be on pricing without knowing anything about the business? What
increase prices? Mm-hmm. I mean, if it doesn't work, you can always go back, right? and if you think about this, one of the, again, going to mistakes, if you're a startup company or a small company with a product that is disruptive in any way, right, or a service that is disruptive, customers buys that for all different reasons, but a disruptive product or service only appeals to early adopters, and early adopters are not price sensitive, right? But there are very few of them. And one very common mistake is for these companies to go out there with their disruptive product find a few clients, and they, a year gone by maybe, and they look at what they promised investors, they look at the bank balance, and then they panic, right? So they lower their price. So we're too expensive. And then the result of that is either the same sales volume or even lower sales volume. And then they have a hard time increase the price again. And if they can't, they die, right? I've seen that so many times.
Truly eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much, Per.
Well, thank you, Zorina, and I hope the audience find this of interest as well.
I'm sure they will. It's useful to anybody in business, I find.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. So everybody, the website is Sjofors, which is the family name, but you can of Per Sjofors, but you can look him up with the Price Whisperer or look in the description of this episode.
Yeah, finding me is Google the Price Whisperer and you'll find me all over the place.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at grownlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.